on silent. That's the worst part. The ringer will be on. It'll just be at the very lowest.
The lowest,
so
yeah.
It'll also be impossible to find and impossible to hear. I'm like,
Mine was
there's
all the way
no way for
outside.
me to even hear. Like,
Wow, right now.
right. This is horrible.
We had just done A-Lab.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I had it on silent. You know, Valley asked everybody to put it on silent.
Okay.
So I had it on silent, but usually I come right home or get in the car and turn it on. No, I went all the way home. They were out somewhere with the A-Lag people. And they had been calling. And I was wondering why they hadn't called to say they were done.
We're having a great time.
And I looked at my phone and I was like, oh my God. Okay. Oh. How's school?
Going good. I did my first test in statistics and I made an A. So
Good
thank you.
job. Statistics takes life away.
Because I was like, not math and not higher math. No. But yeah.
I feel like I do those things situationally, and if I need to improve them in my practice, in my life, or whatever I'm doing, then I'll bring it in. But I do what I gotta do to get through that.
Right,
Because
just
I'm
the
like,
class. Because I'm like, I don't really plan to be doing quantitative analysis of nothing. So
I did it during my research, and after that, I said, if I needed somebody, I will hire you
right.
to do it.
Like I'm
But I'm
gonna
not gonna do it.
reach back in my brain to try to remember quantitative methods. Not at all.
Speaking of your practice, Miss Jackie, if I need, what kind of referrals would I be able to do to you? What do you focus on?
Well, most of my clients right now, I'm not opposed to, but I do see women and children.
Okay.
More so, you know, I do have male clients, but it's just overwhelmingly 90%
Okay.
women and children. It's adults and adolescents. I counsel both.
Okay.
I can do nutritional assessments. I can do counseling services. I can do assessments.
Can you do psychoeducational?
I can do a psychosocial interview, but it won't be like I would have to get that battery. You know,
Okay.
if I wanted to do it, I just have to get the battery. I just don't have the
Okay.
battery right now.
Okay.
Because most of my clients, when they come in, they've either already had that testing or what we would consider in the psychology realm as a V code, to where it doesn't need to be diagnosed on the DSM.
Okay.
Like on that side.
Okay.
But I could, but I just haven't had to recently.
Yeah.
Because life coaching is what I'm branding instead of
Right.
therapy, but I can do it.
Okay. Because the person that I used in the past was Joyce Harris.
Oh, I love her.
I love her too. And she has retired.
That's right.
And I
Miss
just,
Joyce used to do the passages?
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. So that was my, therapist, marriage counselor, everything, every kind of therapy. That was
I
the
would
person I
have to
went to.
refer out to MFT just because I don't feel qualified.
But when I remembered, I was like, wait a minute, I know people who are doing something that I can. If I feel like if I have a client
Yeah.
that I think needs that as opposed to just,
Right.
something with the deities or some
Right.
my light level coaching, counseling, then I want to have preferably a black woman
Gotcha.
that I can send them to and be like, okay, you can go talk to her.
Right.
You need to talk to somebody extensively and regularly.
Yes.
Go talk to her. And then plus, because you do the nutritional part too, that puts me at ease.
Yes.
In a different way. I think Gloria is about to come in. Kelly, can you and your auntie and uncle come on in? Go tell them I want them to come in.
Yeah.
Okay. And we will get started. So if you have a business card or anything, you can give me, and then if you can text me.
A picture of it?
Like
Okay.
give me one if you have one, and then text me. Come on, we're about to get started. And then text me an image. Hey, baby, how are you? And then I can, refer people. Do you do anything remotely?
Yes.
Okay. Yay! I'm so happy to know that. Girl, I have been just I feel like I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Like I don't feel comfortable, Like I knew her, so I felt very comfortable. But you don't want to send nobody to somebody that's gonna make them worse.
Yeah.
That's always my concern. So.
over here. Sit down with everybody.
Alright. Oh.
Sit down with everyone.
See? Tripod.
Quickly, it's not a person.
Remind me.
Have a seat with Nubia and Tamar.
That's a cool,
It
unique way. I
It's
don't
a
like that
speaker.
way. Oh, okay.
So it does it all. Greetings, everybody. We are just setting up to get started. So we're gonna do libation, and then we will move into.
After you follow my instructions. Thank you.
You're not back there with anything electronic, are you, sir? Okay. All right. Just checking.
Scoot behind the couch.
Okay. Omi tutu, omi tutu, omi tutu. Tutu ori, tutu emi, tutu aye, tutu laroye. Iba she Olodumare Ọba akabere kaye. Iba ti wo ojo, iba ti wo orun, iba leogere afoko yere, iba rumela ileri ipin, iba igba rumle ojo kotun, iba igba rumle ojo kosun, iba kanle ni orin wo rumele, iba akoda, iba ashera, iba wani ya afinju eje. Moju obogbo egoni dele mi bele se Olodumare ibaye orun, ibaye baye tunu baba tunu. Iba Shesaleko, Iba Oba Sejimane for me the first, Iba Oba Sejimane for me the second. Iba Adebolu Fatamishe, Iba Bokono Medahoj Kofizanu, Iba Pojito Mojito Vizanu, Iba Elo Shashango Iniolo, Iba Babalao Fatai Fabimro, Iba Bogboy Deli Fabimro, Iba Bogboy Deli Amushan, Iba Agbo Mola B Orisha, Iba Awolewa, Iba Ile Ife, Iba Oloko Meji Village, Nigeria, Iba Abeokuta, Nigeria, Iba Oyotunji Village, South Carolina. Shuma shepe kune, shuma shepe kune, shuma shepe kune, Shohuni bara, pepe, tiri, lana, Ojoba Eshu, Ashe, Orisha, Kosi Iku, Kosi Fetibo, Kosi Wahala, Kosi Buluku, Kosi Ofo, Fuma Alafia, Fuma Ire, Fuma Owo, Fuma Iwa Kwele, Fuma Ori Tutu, Ashe. All right. So we are going to, I was telling Miss Jackie, we're going to do a couple of more weeks of Ogbe, just to kind of get the feel for the Odu. Please don't. I know that you're not doing that. Okay, well, come down off of it. Just to get the feel for the Odu, and then we'll move into the next one. So just for the people remotely, this is 16 calories that I was talking about. I don't have a cover on mine anymore. It has been many years. So this is 16 calories by Bascom. This is the most concise compilation for D-Logun. Okay. As I discussed last week, D-Logun is the first oracle, the original oracle that our ancestors used to communicate with the spirit realm. Out of D-Logun, then you get Ogbe. Out of D-Logun, then you get the Ifa oracle, which is the oracle that we use the Okwele with. The Ifa oracle also has elements in it that are not Yoruba, because our ancestors traveled during the time of war into that region that's close to the Nupe area, and this is where they were taught the science of using the Okwele and different things like that. Okay, so those are the three oracles that we use in the tradition. So Ogbe. And something that I did not mention last week is that the basis for almost everything in the Anago spiritual tradition is ancestral. You are going to be hard pressed to find any important element of the tradition that's not ancestral. And I'm saying that to say that everything that we revere, everything that we pay homage to at this time, we are taught actually lived on earth. Okay, is that your purse? Get that off the floor, Miss Jackie. We are taught actually, you just don't put your purse on the floor.
Oh, that's not my purse.
Oh, okay.
That's my purse.
Oh, okay. I was like, it's gonna make your money lower. So everything actually lived. Everything actually incarnated in the spirit realm. Mm-hmm. So Odu is no different. Okay? So Odu were actual beings that incarnated on the physical plane. Not only did they incarnate on the physical plane, but Metahochi taught us that they actually incarnated on earth. Okay, so not only physical, but they lived and walked the earth. Odu were massive, gigantic beings, not necessarily humanoid. So I don't have any sort of understanding as to what type of being it was, but these were massive beings that actually lived. So this is part of how we get the hierarchy of the Odu, because you, whichever ones incarnated first or were born first are of course senior, and whichever ones incarnated later or were born later are of course junior. I will continue to say, because this is essential to understanding Yoruba culture, the only delineation between human beings in the Yoruba culture is seniority via age. That's it. There are no gender specific pronouns, there are no gender specific lifestyles or ways of that. That's not how the culture was set up. Post-colonial Yoruba culture is set up that way. Pre-colonial Yoruba culture, and even the culture during the time of colonialism, was not set up that way. It is only, you cannot say sister or brother in Yoruba. You can only say older sibling or younger sibling. That's it. There is no him or her. There's only a person who is older than me, a person who is younger than me. So when we think about everything and we think about the hierarchy of the culture, the entire hierarchy of the culture is who was born first. The reason that this is so essential to understand is because the culture, the foundation of the culture is being able to utilize the experience of those who are older than you. And because you are always utilizing their experience, then you are always paying homage to them. You are always understanding them to be essential to you living life properly. Because you can't, there's no way for you to know how to do it if there wasn't somebody who did it before you. And if somebody was doing it before you, then that means all the dangers of doing it before you, that person has gone through them. So hopefully you don't have to. So that's the totality of Yoruba culture, and the foundation of the culture is who's oldest, who was here first. If you go to a bimbe, they're going to ask, when were you initiated? And whoever was initiated, because that's a new date of birth for you. So whoever was initiated first is the person that's going to come into the bimbe first, is the person that's going to be honored first, is the person that's going to be given the opportunity to speak first. This is the person with the most experience. And so everyone else has to listen to this person. Everyone has voice. Everyone is expected to be able to contribute. But the person who is oldest is expected to have the most to contribute. Okay? So, even with Odu, they incarnated, they lived, and they lived on earth. And so, Eji-Ogbe is we'll get to that. But Eji-Ogbe is the oldest Odu. That's how we see it. That's how we word it. We'll get to the actual facts about that as we move down learning about them. So, Eji-Ogbe is the Odu that houses our Anago ancestrals' teachings of patience, of su'uru, sweetness and calmness in the face of adversity, of itutu, being able to move through life coolly and peacefully, and of ori. When you think about your body parts, every body part is under the jurisdiction of a specific orisha. Remember that the orisha are initially, first and foremost, cosmic energies, okay, and cosmic beings. So as human beings, the parts of the orisha that we utilize are the parts, most of the time, are the parts that are physical, okay? Those physical parts are for us. They made those physical parts for us. That is for you to use. The orisha are cosmic beings. They have no reason to flow on earth as a river except for you. Oshun does not have to do that. Oshun exists in the cosmos, not flowing as a river. The only reason she flows as rivers is so that we can have water to drink. That's it. So every physical part of the Orisha exists for human beings, specifically for the children of Oduduwa. This is who this was created for, right? Black people are the children of Oduduwa, specifically West African people, which is of course what all of us are, okay? So that's the only reason physical parts of the Orisha exist. So a lot of times, because we have been so socialized to think of religion from the perspective of the Abrahamic traditions, a lot of times we'll wait or we'll pause before we ask an Orisha for this or ask an Orisha, is this something important enough to ask the Orisha for? Yemanja only exists as an ocean because we need oceans. So anything that a human being wants to ask, the physical, earthly, the aspect of Yemanja that we generally have, access to, anything you want to ask her for is the right thing. She is only there for you. If human beings didn't exist, why would there have to be an ocean? There wouldn't have to be one. There wouldn't need to be no ground. There wouldn't need to be no vegetation. None of that is needed. All that is for us. So you never have to worry. This is why they say there's nothing too small, nothing too big to ask the Orisha for. Nothing. They're waiting. That's the only reason they're here. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. So always ask. Never think anything is too small. I ask about everything. I won't ask about a parking space. If I can't find no parking space, let me go in this shop and find this blouse for $15 because I ain't got but $15. So it's got to be $15 or less. Everything. I can't figure out the next paragraph I need to write in this paper. Come on, bring me some inspiration. Nothing is too small. Oh, I got a stomach ache, feel like I'm constipated. Everything, it's all there for you. Okay. So Ogbe deals with Ori. Obatala is the Orisha that takes precedence over the Ori. Come over here. You come over here. And Kamara, you come over here. You can sit right here. No, he's fine. You come over here, Kamara. Mm-hmm. So Obatala is the Orisha that rules the Ori. Obatala is the Orisha, as we said last week, that speaks in Ejiogbe. Ejiogbe is the Odu. One of the Odu in which Obatala speaks, and is the Odu in which our understanding of Ori was born. So that's the Itan, or the verse or the part from Ejiogbe that we're going to talk about today. So Ori, as we've said before, is the head of all of the Orisha. What that means is that for human beings, Ori is supreme. Okay? Nobody else can bless you, nobody else can reach you, no one else can touch you if your Ori is close to it. No Orisha blesses one without consent of her Ori. It cannot happen. Oshun can be waiting with the winning lottery ticket. If your Ori is close to it, you are not going to get that wealth. It's not possible. Ori is supreme. Ori is the head of the Orisha on earth. Okay. And this story from Ejiogbe is the reason why. So in the time before time, in the time when the Orisha were creating the physical realm or preparing to create the physical realm, then the Olodumare called all of the Orisha together and they had a meeting and they said, we need to decide who is going to be the head of the Orisha. Who's going to lead all of you all? Who can I leave in charge, right? Because the Olodumare, unlike the Orisha, unlike the Odu, is not necessarily accessible on the physical realm. This is why when white anthropologists came into Nigeria, they said our main god or our actual god was remote, right? Of course, the entire concept is not what they were just, there's no concept like that. There's no main God concept. Olodumare is everything, is the totality of everything. In being the totality of everything, he, she, it does not have to have physical access. That wouldn't make any sense. All of us in the room are us. So how do you access us? You still can only access one part at a time, right? So the Olodumare is not accessible like that. So it has to be, okay, then which one of you all will be the head, which one will be the guy, which one will be the leader, right? So as you can imagine, there was not a fight, but a little friendly competition amongst the Orisha. Who's gonna be the head? Well, who's the oldest? Well, who's the strongest? Well, who's the wisest? Well, who really does the most for humankind? Who really, does the most on the physical plane? Who is that? So this is, Orisha talking about this, talking amongst themselves. And the Olodumare said, okay, we're all here together. So, I'm going to leave you guys. And y'all have a good time. They hadn't been gathered together like this. Y'all enjoy yourselves. Y'all have a good time. But don't forget, when the sun rises, don't forget at dawn to rise and salute your Ori. Roll yourself around on the ground and salute your Ori. And he said, and, because that's our morning practice. That's our morning ritual. Okay?
What about sun salutation?
It's similar to that. Very much similar to that. Right? It's something that you do at dawn. So, Orisha, happy to see each other. We West African people, you know how we do. The drums was pumping, Everybody was there. So it was a party. It was a bimbag. It was a fit. We got it going on, right? It was everybody, it was Ogbe, it was egusi, it was fish flowing, it was palm wine, it was going on. Everybody was in their finery and everything. We was kicking it. So we had our talking drum, we had our bata. It was a party. This is what we do. This is what West African people do. We ain't changed. That part ain't different, right? So everybody drinking, carousing, everybody having a good time. And then they arguing, So, of course, first is going to be Eshu. He the trickster, so he got to mess with everybody. Everybody know it's going to be me. Everybody know I'm going to be the head of the Orisha. Y'all can't even contact the spirit realm, but I'm the conduit. Please. Who think they going to do something? Y'all always got to greet me before y'all do anything. The rest of y'all might not even want to try to worry Olodumare about it, because it's me, right? It's Eshu. I'm the most important one. Right? So, then, of course, Ogun steps up. Well, I'm the literal beating of the human heart. I am the fire in the center of the earth. Nothing can exist without me. How you, for real, Eshu, you playing? Ain't nobody gonna even have a heart beating to come and salute you and give you nothing if it wasn't for me. Quit playing, Then Obako Soul steps up, He don't just step up, he dances up, And all the ladies, when Obako Soul step in the room, And he's like, okay, I am the actual animating force of the body. I am electricity. I ain't gonna even say nothing else. I'm gonna just dance it on out. I'm gonna dance on back to my seat. Why are we even arguing about this? Obatala sitting there stately. In his all white, the most massive Akbata I ever seen, with his cane, and he don't even say nothing. He just nods. You think so? Okay, interesting. That scholarly kind of disagreeable, I hadn't considered that. Right, okay, interesting point, sipping on his palm wine. No. Oh, no, not sipping on his palm wine. And, sipping his drink, chilling. Oh, okay, it's interesting that you think that. So, this goes on all night. There's also a party going on. Ori, as a deity, is, of course, at the party, too. Ori is kicking it. Everybody's having a good time. And everybody drank, everybody danced, everybody ate. So then when dawn came, everyone was asleep. When it was time to rise and salute your Ori. Time to rise and roll yourself around on the ground in homage to Ori. So it was only Ori that rose and did that. So it's time for all of the Orisha to meet at the feet of Olodumare. And so they meet. And Olodumare brings out a kola nut. And he says, this is the kola nut of Ashe. Whoever can break this kola nut of Ashe is the head of the Orisha. So every Orisha got the opportunity to break the kola nut of Ashe. Kola nuts ain't hard to break, y'all. I don't know how many kola nuts y'all have encountered, but they're not difficult to break, right? It's a segmented nut. It is created in such a way that it comes apart easily, right? So every Orisha is approaching and it's like, what is this thing he's speaking of? It is very simple to break a kola nut off. What has happened to Olodumare? Maybe Olodumare herself had too much palm wine.
Too much wine.
I do not know why this would be the taste. It does not make any sense. Yes, ma'am.
It's a cola nut pistachio.
It is similar, but not quite. I will show you what one is the next time we get some, okay?
And I think I've heard this one.
You have. So, everyone comes forward and attempts to break open the kola nut, right? Obatala, of course, gets to go first. Obatala is the oldest. So, from Obatala all the way down, all of the Orisha attempt to break the kola nut of Ashe, right? And it is only Ori that is able to break the kola nut of Ashe. So Ori is the head of the Orisha. Okay? It is only through saluting and paying homage to and listening to and paying attention to and being obedient to your Ori that you can break the kola nut of Ashe. The way that our ancestors taught us to pay homage to Ori is at dawn, is by a series of movements that you do in homage to your head at dawn or whenever you rise. We don't live in a culture anymore that rises at dawn. I grew up in a culture that rose at dawn because if you are agrarian, if you're a farmer, then you have to get up at dawn. There's no way to get everything done that you have to do in the daylight unless you actually rise with the sun. And this is what our bodies were created to do. So it's actually better for you to do that. But where I'm from, you also went to bed when the sun went down, whatever time that was. You went to bed. The actual people who farmed the land, they literally did go to bed when the sun went down. It didn't make any difference what time that was. They went to bed because they had to be up when that sun came up, okay? So every spiritual tradition, every real spiritual tradition is practical. So while it is best for your body, because your body is based on millions and millions and millions of years of experience. So while it is best for your body to do everything at dawn and only up until the sun goes down, we don't live in a culture that does that anymore, right? So now it is when you rise, pay homage to your Ori. You should be rising at dawn and doing it at dawn, but when you rise, you pay homage to your Ori. When you rise and take the time to pay homage to Ori, then you are able to break the kola nut of Ashe in your life. And it is as simple as that. There's no further explanation. There's no further explanation in the Odu. There's no further explanation in the story. When you rise and pay homage to your Ori, you will be able to break the kola nut of Ashe in your life. There will be that thing that you hadn't been able to do. You hadn't been able to figure it out. I don't know how I'm going to get to the other side of this. I don't know how I'm going to, and I swear to you, I will guarantee it to you, that if you rise and upon rising, after you wash your face and brush your teeth, you never greet the deities with a stale face. So after you cleanse your face and clean your mouth out, if the next thing you do is hit the ground and salute your Ori, things that you haven't been able to figure out, you're going to figure them out. Generally right after that. Oh, that's what I should have been doing.
Mommy.
Stuff that you had a hard time doing, it will now be easy to you. Yes, sir.
Like when we woke up that morning and did our sun salutation, and me and Newbie were both able to get our work 2 seconds in our work
Much more
easily and
quickly.
quicker.
Right.
Like in the sun salutation, when we went back, I did it back.
Exactly. things that you were formerly unable to do or that were difficult for you, that's how you break the kola nut of Ashe. And a lot of times I think that we have an expectation of something a little more exotic. You know, eye of newt and tail of dog and all that kind of stuff. And we're gonna, all this stuff has its place. You got to, put it in a special cauldron that came from Madagascar, and because it can't come from him nowhere else. It's going to be completely useless, And I know that I am very much guilty of this on every level, I can't even do the ritual unless I have the Indonesian, That's me all day long. Well, how can I even decorate my home without those masks from Indonesia? I just won't do it. I literally will not do it. But that actually is just you. And that is just your personal preference, which is fine. I'm not saying not to pay attention to your personal preference. But when you are working through life, when you are moving through life, when you are attempting to achieve everything that you need to achieve to fulfill your destiny, first step, easiest step, simplest step, get up in the morning and salute your Ori. And you will be able to break the kola nut of Ashe. You will break the kola nut of Ashe, like Ori did. You should be the head of your life, right? You are supposed to be the head of your life. That is how your body, your mind, everything that created you is created with that expectation. Okay? Your body is an expectation of that. Your mind is an expectation of that. This is why we naturally resist authority. That is a natural thing to do, much to the dismay of mothers everywhere. But it is very natural to resist authority. That is what you are supposed to do, right? Because you are supposed to be the head of your life. Your body expects this. Your mind expects this. Your brain, all the little parts of your brain created to do that. If you don't break that kola nut of Ashe, everything else is going to be the head of your life. Not even the stuff that you're thinking. I ain't talking about like your boss at work. I ain't even talking about like the law of the land. It won't be that kind of stuff that's the head of your life. It'll be nonsensical stuff. Facebook done became the head of your life. Instagram. This happens easily. Right? Some sort of other obsession. Consumerism. Something else. A specific type of food. I'm just speaking personal experience. These are things that can very easily, whatever relationship you're in, can very easily become the head of your life. And then, because you are not able to think clearly, then you won't even understand why you can't do simple tasks. Why can't I figure out this recipe that I've been making for like 15 years and now it just won't come to me? Oh, it used to come to me so easily. What is happening with it? I can't remember. You're not the head of your life. It's something else. It's leading your life. This is getting your time and your attention before anything else. I always tell even mothers, and I know for me, motherhood was the most difficult test of that. Of how not to make something else the head of my life. There is no way in the world, or I felt that there was no way in the world not to make a nursing baby the head of your life. You just did. That's it. That's it.
That's just your purpose for existing.
You are a cow. And that's simply what is true. You are merely a cow. And this is why the cow, in ancient Kemet, that was one of the most beautiful symbols of motherhood, just a cow. I was like, yeah, because for the first 3 years, that's all you are as a cow. You're just a milk maker. But you have to work. Seriously, you have to do serious mental work to remember that this is your body. You live in here. That person lives in their own body. And you have to continue to mentally, emotionally, physically make that demarcation. Say, okay, I'm the head of this life. Let me take a little time. Let me take a few hours to myself. Otherwise, that baby will be the head of your life. Especially you for real nursing. You nursing on demand. You nursing the way that nursing is supposed to be done. Oh, child, please. You ain't did nothing. You doing good in a week to have bathed and found some time to have a bowel movement. It's because that ain't happening. It's not happening when you doing it while you nursing somebody. So, at all times and in all places, you have to remember to be the head of your life. This is, to me, one of the most important parts of this story, right? But this is how Ori became the head of the Orisha. This is why Ori is the head of the Orisha. This is why you don't do anything without the consent of your Ori. This is why my grandmother, where I'm from, the old people say, follow your first mind. Always follow your first mind. Your first mind ain't never wrong. And it never has been wrong, right? Whenever you don't follow it, you always be like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Or, oh, I knew I should have done that, but I didn't do it, right? Follow your first mind, right? That's it. When old people from the South, old black people from the South say your first mind, that's what they're talking about. What else can they mean with the Ori, right? Because why wouldn't they just say mind? Why have they designated it as first mind, right? Why have they given it this special designation, right? Always listen to Ori. It will never steer you wrong. From the time you have been this age, from the time that you first left your mother's womb. This is why, for most of us, this was the first part to come out. This is the leader. This is the part that knows your destiny that you have forgotten. So whatever your Ori is telling you to do is leading you towards your destiny, no matter how difficult or how strange. Ori is only ever going to lead you to your destiny. So this is one of the most essential parts of Ogbe, of Eji Ogbe, is understanding Ori. Okay? Did y'all have questions or comments?
I did have a question. What's the difference between studying the Odu separately? And when I say separately, meaning there's Odu that Ogbe is just one, and then Osa is just one, and then you'll have the combination of those two. And from the things I've been told and what I've been studying, I wanted to get your perception of how to study if you're not initiated to a place where you would learn
The pairs.
the pairs.
I think that for people who aren't initiated, it is better and simpler, and it makes more sense to study the separate pieces. Okay? The pair that you should know and that you should study is your personal Odu that you were born under, which should have been given to you at your first divination. Whatever that first divination you had, that's your Odu you were born under. So that pair you have to study and know, because that gives you all the keys to your life. That gives you your life scenario. But outside of that, I think it's important to know each one separately. Okay? Initiates have to know those pairs, and when these two come together, this is what they do. When these two come together, this is what they do. But the thing about Dilogun is that we don't necessarily see them as separate. That's why this one is Eji Ogbe. That's Ogbe Ogbe.
Right.
That's two. So Dilogun doesn't necessarily fall separately like that. Dilogun is generally considered to be a pair,
Right.
however it falls. So when you're studying Dilogun, you technically are studying the pairs, because you're studying the oldest pairs. The Edgies are the oldest pairs. Okay, so Eji Ogbe is an older pair than, let's say, Ogbe Osa. Okay, so for two Ogbes to come together, we consider that to be senior to Ogbe coming together with Osa. So when you're studying Dilogun, technically you're studying a pair anyway. So what I'm telling you now is from Ogbe Ogbe, is Eji Ogbe. So you're still studying pairs to a certain extent.
So if you, I don't remember. I got that reading. I don't know the pair that I came up under. What does it pertain to? Does it change?
It doesn't change. Your birth Odu is just your birth Odu.
Like because my birthday doesn't change, that Odu, it wouldn't change. Like, doesn't matter how many times I sat on the mat. Like, it would be.
You're not gonna get that every time.
Right.
But yeah, the first one you got generally is the one that you were born under. If you don't remember it, it's fine. You can go to a diviner and ask, what is the Odu I was born under? And they can cast, and they'll tell you this is it. But yeah, the first time that you get a divination, which is why I always ask people, is this your first divination? Okay, if this is your first divination, then what is going to fall is going to be what you were born under. So you need to write this down so that you will know what it is, so that you'll be able to study it. And when you are in the company of a priest or priestess or a babalawo, you can ask, can you tell me something about so-and-so? Because the stories that I have and that I remember, another priest or priestess will remember other stories and have other stories. So you always ask so that you have as much information as you can about your birth order. But yeah, that's why you write it down.
I don't remember the name of mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's vague in my memory, but I remember like the concept of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you said that I need to remember balance. Like you can't be all good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's like you get into mischief sometimes, and sometimes you know it has to be balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Was that?
So that sounds like Hiroshima, but it also sounds like OD. Do you remember what it was?
Ours was
Or Obara.
similar. Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
what I was about to say.
Obara.
That's what I was
Like
about to say.
Hiroshima, but it also sounds like Obara.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Something with Obara.
Ours
Mm.
was similar. Because mine is Ofun Meji, so maybe yours is Obara Meji?
Was it Obara Meji or Obara Fun, maybe?
It might have been Obara Ofun, yeah.
I don't know, because I don't write them down anymore. I always have the person write them down.
Okay.
So I don't
But you-
remember.
I did write it. Yeah.
You wrote it down?
I
Yeah.
recorded it and I wrote it in. Yeah.
Yeah. So you
Just
just,
go back and
so that's how you know the
Okay.
pair that you're supposed to study. But outside of that, I think that anybody who's studying the tradition has to study the individual ones, because this is, the Odu is the foundation of a Nago society. Everything is based on this. This is what everything comes from. Every belief system, every action, every way of dealing with things. These stories will tell you, oh, this is why they do it this way. And when you go to Nigeria, if you see people doing something where you can tell them, well, that's not the way they did it in Eji Ogbe, then first of all, they'll be shocked that you know it. And second of all, they'll be like, you don't just speak of that. You don't just sit and speak of Eji Ogbe. That is not just, something that you chit chat about. It's not, but they'll be able to say, you're right, I know. My grandmother taught me, to do it that way too, but now we're doing it this way. This is the foundation of the society. And for me, because we are so far removed from the culture, and every religion, every spiritual system is the deification of a culture, there is no way to practice, to embrace, to ingest, to embody the culture if you don't understand the culture. You cannot. You can't practice the tradition. You can't fully embody it if you have no understanding of the culture. So the Odu is the foundation for the culture, right? That's where it comes from. This is, as I said last week, the mythology. Every culture has a mythology that is based on. Every culture has a narrative that it is acting out. This is what it means to be human, is to act out a narrative, okay? So the Odu are the narratives of the Yoruba people. This is what they're acting out, and what we, as their descendants, also continue to be acting out, which is why when we hear them, you'll be like, oh, there's a part inside of you that's like, oh, this is what I've been doing all this time, right? Especially when you hear the ones that have your Orisha in them, or you hear the Odu that are sacred to you. You be, oh, I've been doing that. It makes sense because because of your DNA, you're acting out that narrative too. That's all that you can do. Mythology is the way that people experiences the universe. And no matter where you are in the world, you can still only experience the universe this way. It can't change. It doesn't. If I, pick Kamari up and take him to Timbuktu, the way he experiences the universe is not going to change from how he experiences it now. He will see different things. He will have different experiences. But his way of engaging can only do it one way. And it takes millions of years to change the structure of DNA. Millions. So while we have been here hundreds, we have not been here long enough to change the structure of this. Is why we all still lactose intolerant. Because West Africans don't raise cows. East African people can drink milk. They raise cows in East Africa. See, your DNA structure don't change. Black people can't drink cow milk. We don't have an enzyme in our body, in our digestive system, that breaks down cow milk. Because our ancestors did not raise cows. It's as simple as that. You can go and read a European written health food book from the 60s, and they will prescribe milk for illnesses because they come from a tradition that raises cows. So they can drink milk for an illness. And they're talking about, oh, I got so strong and so sturdy, right? Please. I can try to drink a simple mango lassi from blessed cows from India. You know, that milk is blessed. You know, that ain't even no cow that was mistreated. That's a cow, his adrenals weren't all overworked. This is a good cow. You know, feeling good about giving up the milk. If milk was asked for kindly, this ain't no milk that came from a mill or factory where they mistreating the poor cow. So, that's the same. Your DNA structure has not changed. The majority of our genes are West African. That's the majority of us in there. So, the Odu is how you experience the universe. This is why it sounds familiar. This is why the songs sound familiar. This is why the language is easy to pick up on. This is why when you first started learning about the tradition, you were like, you're right. This is what pulled you to it. I got to know more about that. Because that's just something in it rang true, right? The DNA structure does not change. So I say you have to know the Odu. You have to study the Odu. This is your personal mythology. As a person who a bibliophile, I love to read, I love to know the story, and I love everybody's mythology. Ooh, this is fascinating. Ooh, Norse mythology. Ooh, Asian mythology. I love it. I love knowing everybody's stories. But for me, to help me for my personal journey, I have to know the Odu. That's my personal story. This is how you are going to walk through life. You ain't gonna do it no other way. You can try to do it another way. Right? We've been trying to do it another way for 300-400 years. And that ain't working out, obviously. Because you can't. It's impossible. It's like we are bipedal mammals, right? So it's like saying, well, now you're in a culture where everybody walks on all fours. Right? We can figure it out. But still, when we get home to our house, we're going to be like, woo! And stand back up, right? I'm so glad so glad I'm home from work. And take off this bra and take off this phone. You're not made to do that. Okay. Other questions and comments in homage to Dr. McCarroll?
Mommy, is Greek mythology count as one of the mythologies you're talking about?
Greek mythology what?
Does it count?
Greek mythology is the way that Greek people experience life. So yes, it is one of the mythologies that I was referring to.
So if I read Greek mythology a lot, does that make me a bibliophile? If I read Greek mythology a lot, does that make me a bibliophile?
Yes. Yes, it does. One who loves books, one who loves the written word. Bibliophile. Biblio has to do with books and things that are written down. Phile means to love, right? Philo. Yeah. True. Alright, I have no idea what time it is, y'all, and I'm supposed to be keeping up with that.
I need to go to the master.
So we have an extra 30 minutes because I was gonna send her to change her clothes at 2:30 because she has gymnastics at 3. So y'all can fire off questions about anything. They don't necessarily have to be about the topic that we discussed today.
Mama,
Yes.
does Tati know what her future is?
Does Tati know what her future is? Everybody knows what their future is to a certain extent.
What? She's 20?
Everybody knows what their future is to a certain extent. Yes.
Oh.
But go ahead.
Go.
So when you're there are a lot of people I know and or acquaintances with them that they're always in search, you know what I'm saying, of something, and they might not be settled completely in what they're doing. They're kind of unresolved, unfulfilled type of situation. And it's like, okay, I have to be mindful of the fact that, I have my own personal way of doing that.
Right.
That doesn't mean that that's for for you, or but hey, everybody has their way, like I was saying. But when you're trying to help someone and you have a particular perspective, how can you generalize basically until they choose to specify?
Right.
Generalize how to direct people in the right direction. Now, I know, YouTube, I mean, there's self-help everywhere.
Right.
But again, when you were talking about looking at experiencing life in a particular way.
Yes.
Because I experience life the way I experience it, I'm like, okay, well, they asked me, so am I supposed to give them mine? But maybe not. Just because you might not relate to how I experience the world.
Well, I always give everybody two five. Right? So I always say, well, this is what I do. And I always say, don't do that. I always say, this is why I do it. Right? So they understand. Right? I very specifically, from the moment I got my first divination, I very specifically practice an African traditional religion. I specifically practice it for all the reasons I just gave you. Because nothing else was able to feed me. And once I understood who and what I was, then I knew what was going to feed me. I just didn't know where to find it. So once I found it, I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do forever and ever. Amen. Done. Over. End of story. And that's it. That's what I do. My children don't even have a context for anything outside of African traditional religion. So I explain to people, this is how I would do it. And this is why I would do it this way. And this is what speaks to me. And if they have a similar background, then I say it may speak to you too for those same reasons. And it may not. And then I can also couch everything that I do in general terms. So to everybody, I won't say, well, listen to your Ori.
Right.
Like I might say to my children, if they do something, I'll be like, Nandi, what was your Ori saying when you did that? I didn't say not to do it. Well, then why did you do it? So I can't say that to everybody. But to everybody, I can ask, what was your first thought about it? How did you first feel about it? Even something as simple as dream interpretation. Because there's some stuff that you can dream about it, and in real life, it may be fearful to you. But if it didn't cause fear to you in the dream, then it ain't got nothing to do with fear. It's something else. So I always ask people, what was your first thought? What was your first? So I don't necessarily use the term Ori. But I'm still going to always push them towards listening to their Ori. Because that's it. That's your guide. Well, have you done this? Or do you meditate first thing in the morning? Or do you do so-and-so? It's still the same thing. Right. I'm just using a term that's more general. Do you pray in the morning? If I'm talking to a Christian person, I'll be like, well, do you pray in the morning? I will ask a Christian person, well, what does the Bible say about that? In a heartbeat. The Bible, is that how Jesus would have done it? I will ask you that if that's your context.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I ask that because that's the way I find myself doing things, but I'm like, am I being too vague? Because most of the time, just because of the society we're in, we are used to how-tos. Give me a list.
Right.
Tell me what to do. Right. So that when I get down to here, and that's because we have been trained to just listen to what we're supposed to do and not don't listen to your first thought. You do what you're told, and then you get this result, or at the bottom, and then the small print. Results may vary. Way down at the bottom. Right. But the results.
Right.
Okay. But I'm gonna give you a list, girl. This is the list of true happiness.
Yeah.
But and again, I have to realize that this is everybody's own journey, and I say that's a disclaimer I put before I have any gathering, before I do anything. You get what you get. You put into it. You get what you get what you put into it. So if you're supposed to do X, Y, Z before we get here and you didn't do it, well,
right. We can't help you out.
You might get a glimpse, but it probably won't be the same if you have prepared yourself. But
if we having a sweat and you eat a 4-course meal before you come to the lodge, you ain't gonna be able to sit it out. You see what I'm saying?
I don't even ask those questions more. If you come, you might want to sit down the next round. I'm not because I could be a Nazi and be like, so
right.
Because I'm thinking I gotta be in there with you. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about you. If you're not vibrating to this level, it can't get. It might come, but it can't get through
It ain't
you.
gonna go through the whole
Right.
cycle.
So I'm like, I'm gonna need all y'all to be right.
Right. So I get what I'm trying to get. Yes.
That's, so I'm grateful for the universe. That's great. But yeah, I just wonder, because as people that are in the helping profession like I am, I'm really careful, not to give the prescription or
Right,
do
right.
those types of things. And sometimes people might be like, I gotta listen to myself.
Right.
And it's like,
Usually.
yes.
Yeah.
And
They
like,
don't
well,
want
how
to
do I
say
do
that.
that? Okay.
Right.
And they're like, well, give me a lesson how to do that. I'm like,
No.
I can't tell you that to yourself.
Right.
But I just wanted, because that's, I go back and forth, what I'm saying, in my mind about how I help individuals. But, I don't usually ask other people,
Right.
so that's why I brought up the question. Because there's always somebody out there wanting to know.
Oh yeah, they want the list, but you're not required to give the list to anybody. But once you have children, your children. That's who you give a list to, because those are the people whose DNA is closest to yours. So those are the people who it's most likely gonna work for. It ain't gonna work for them. Let you know that too. It's not your list is not going to work completely for them. But those people will be able to use your list more aptly than somebody who is not connected to you in that way. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with everybody else, I do the same thing that you do. I get, well, what did yourself say about that? And then we can discuss that. We can have a back and forth about what yourself says, and I can say, well, this is how you strengthen that conversation with yourself. And it's just as simple as having it every day. Having a conversation every day.
All day long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Baby, turn the kitchen light
For
back.
people who are not so-called bibliophiles, I like to read a good, good thing and some good text when I'm about to, having to give some type of presentation about it. I mean, I don't mind reading, but I'm such an audio and vision. This is before the sensation of all these things came that appeased those things.
Well, no,
But
that's after.
I'm a learner by experience, by touching, by feeling and hearing. And I'm like, okay, what are some other sources or other ways to get the Odu? Well, I know the songs. Songs definitely do help, but I gotta transpose that in my head because it's in Yoruba. But what other ways would you suggest to get?
I'm not sure. I don't know if there's any audio method right now. I am sure on YouTube there's a lot of the stories. So you may be able to just put in Ogbe and something I'm sure will come up at this, in 2017. So I would suggest things like that. Of course, you have to be careful, who you're listening to. If it doesn't sit with your spirit, if it doesn't sit with your spirit, turn it on off. It goes back to what we were just saying. It all goes back to listening to yourself. Our grandmamas used to say that just ain't right with my spirit. My mother has gotten us up in the middle of a church service and walked out. It just wasn't right with her spirit. You see what I'm saying? So that's the same. You find something online, you find something on YouTube. If it ain't right with your spirit, turn that junk off. We were raised to do that. We wasn't raised to just sit there and drink it in, None of our mothers just sat there and listened to the foul preacher. She just didn't. And he just, he preaching, we ain't going with that. We gonna go somewhere else. Your mama, we know this place. We know this thing of listening to our older because we were raised like that. So there has to be something like that out there. All of the resources that I can think of right offhand are written, and I, as an educator, must say that's unfortunate because the way that humans learn is through listening and seeing and experiencing. Writing is a technology. Writing, reading is not the way that humans learn. It is, as a matter of fact, the exact opposite of the way we learn. Okay? So I love books because I was raised by people who love books. But I don't say that to say that's the best way to learn because it's actually the worst way to learn. Okay? Your mind has to do a certain thing for you to be able to learn that way, and most people's minds don't do that. So, but everything I can think of is written. I know that Mama Tish has done like maybe 2 or 3 I can think of right offhand of the stories. I've done, a few of them. So I have to think of who else has done some of the stories. I feel like that when the Manahochi first became an ancestor, I was able to put his name just in a Google search and a lot of things came up of him reciting some Odu. So you may, you just kind of have to dig through, and look. But I feel like that there's some resources of different people that I would actually say that I trust teaching the Odu.
Yeah.
But I definitely, because maybe 3 or 4 years ago, a sister friend of mine was like, if you could just put something out there like that about the Odu that we can listen to, that would be so helpful. Which was another reason I said, okay, we'll do all the Orisha, and then we'll go into the Odu,
Yeah.
But
I'll have, I'll start my thing, doing things in the morning, doing things in my house in my special time, and I'll have it up. I'll just have it playing throughout the house, and that's how all the other things stuck. Mama has an Earth, Wind, and Fire playing in the house, and I'm like, why do I love them now?
Right. It's the soundtrack of your childhood, Yeah. So that's it. That's how the human brain works. It was made to work that way. So that's how I taught the children and learned for myself the Orisha songs. Was my Elisha sang them all for us at this event that we had in Milwaukee. And Jabari and I taped them on VHS, old school. We had a little camera, it was on the VHS, and the children and I would watch it. After we finished our homeschool, we would pop that in, and that would be what would be playing. So that's how I learned the Orisha song. There's no other way to do it. Yeah. It's all phonetic. All phonetic and all sinking in that way. Any other questions or comments? No. Don't put no more ice in there. Well, don't put no more ice in there. That's gonna take forever. Any other questions or comments? And I was trying to find, the man Hochi actually wrote out a version of that story that is actually my favorite version of it, and he put a coconut in there too, because in the West we use a coconut. We don't use the coconuts because they don't grow over here. But there was a version of, you remember that version? That a coconut was in it, and it was that they had to break the coconut instead of the coconut of Ashe, but I couldn't find it.
Is it written down?
It is. His godchildren, we were responsible for transcribing just the stuff that he would tell us. So I think it was my god sister and brother in Chicago that wrote down. I have it. I have a booklet somewhere. And so I have so many booklets of Natahochi information that I just couldn't pull the right one. So I'm pulling and flipping. I'm like, oh, it's not this one. Because Natahochi was also a visual artist.
Okay.
So I remember it because he had also drawn a picture of the coconut in it. And I was like, oh, it's not this one. Oh, it's not this one. So when I find it, I'll share it anyway. But yeah.
Where is it? You say it might be in Chicago with them? No,
it's here somewhere.
Oh.
I just, like I said, I have so many booklets, I just didn't pull the right one. So I'm just pulling and flipping, and I didn't find that one. But that was the one I really wanted to share, was this specific one for us people in the West. And so you don't have to explain the cola nut and all of that. We're not familiar, with the food, of West Africa. So, but I'll find it and share it. We'll get that piece too. And that is that New African Vodun piece. Because the other thing about Ori is that Ori holds that part that our Kemetic ancestors call Kepara, that ever becoming part. So Ori holds that part, that there is a thing, there is a way that we do the thing. But we know that in experiencing life, parts are going to be added to that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So this keeps it dynamic.
Right.
Ori is that part too. That keeps it dynamic. That keeps anything, any ritual, any tradition from being stagnant. Because if it's stagnant, it's not living.
Right.
It's not alive. So I wanted to specifically share that Western so that we would see how, how it morphed in the West. This is how our actual ancestors here in the West told this same story. And this is how it's relevant to us specifically here in the West.
Right.
Because Natahochi was very strict about, and I completely agree, from in here, not just because he was my teacher, and my godfather, but from in here, when he first conceived of New African Vodun, for me, that was it. That answered all the questions, because he was like, you do not abandon all of your ancestors here in the United States. And immediately everything of importance is in Nigeria. Everything of importance was done in Nigeria. Everything of importance was done, and it's still done, in Ile-Ife. He's like, you don't need, so then, really? You just grandmama just wasn't important. Auntie and mama and all these people who raised you, nothing that they had to say was of importance. Nothing that they had to say shaped your life. Nothing that he was like, you do not do that. So part of New African Vodun, go change. Part of New African Vodun is to honor that. Is to make sure that you never leave that. Not right now. Is to make sure that you don't leave that behind. So that was why I wanted to tell that version of the story, because we don't want to. We do that.
Yeah.
That's what we do. If you weren't initiated in Ile-Ife, there are people who will say that you weren't really initiated. And mind you, Ile-Ife is only one city in one state in the country of Nigeria, on the continent of Africa. Ile-Ife is just one place. But there are people who will tell you, if you weren't initiated in Ile-Ife, then you weren't really initiated. There's a group of people from Ogbe, which is the other big city, that will say, well, if you weren't initiated in Ogbe, you weren't really initiated, right? There are people who will say, if you were initiated anywhere in the United States, then you weren't really initiated, right? So, to me, when I hear that, then I understand that we, as African people in the West, are not validating and do not take seriously our own Africanness.
Right.
I do not require an African person born on the continent of Africa to validate my Africanness. No one gets to say, this is the only way Oshun is experienced. And so your experience of her means nothing. 500 years of experience of a deity mean nothing? It's not possible. It's not possible. And then it is an effrontery to my mother, to the mother that gave birth to me. That's an effrontery to her. If I can only listen to this side of it and pay no attention to how I was experienced it, that is an effrontery to the woman that gave birth to me and fed me and clothed me and put a roof over my head. And I'm not going to do that. This is what happened in my Idele reading. Your Idele reading is a reading that tells you what part of West Africa you came from and what ethnic group, right? So Medahoji was doing my Idele reading and throwing the Opwele and throwing and wasn't getting any answer. The answer kept coming up maybe, which means we ain't talking to you. If every time you throw you get a maybe, ain't nobody talking to you. They ain't talking to you. He was like, oh, I ain't never seen this. What's going on? What's wrong? We spewed the Opwele and sang a song. We did all kinds of stuff to try to get the Opwele to talk to Opwele. It wasn't talking. And finally, Medahoji said, okay, let's just be quiet for a minute. Let me figure out what's going on. He said, he said, you've got strong ancestry from over here, don't you? And he said, we being rude. We're sitting right here on this land, and we trying to jump all the way to West Africa, as opposed to paying any sort of homage or asking any sort of question of people who sit right here on this land where we are now standing and sitting. So from that moment on forward into it was maybe 10 years after that he conceived of New African Vodun. Then in my mind, I've always held very strongly the importance of what our actual ancestors did in every way. In every way. Medahoji taught us to sing songs to the Vodun as though they were Negro spirituals, because the way that our ancestors sang that was just as important. That's what fed us. You know what I'm saying? He taught us to sing songs in that way. When he chanted Odu, he chanted as if he was an old black preacher in a clapboard church. That's how I grew up. In the old school church, the pews was wood and wasn't no cushion on them. You sitting on a cold pew. Or a hot pew if it was summertime, because there was no air heat in there either. So he taught us, that's how he chanted Odu. In that cadence. that those old Negro preachers, and you have to use the term Negro. You can't say black. You know,
Right,
don't get the
right.
right feel to
Right,
it.
right.
But that cadence was how he taught us to chant Ogbe, because that is still just as valid. That's just as African. That's just as Orisha. That's just as Yoruba. You know, so.
When people try to break that up, I realize I have to be like, oh my gosh, I understand the perspective that you're speaking from.
Right.
Because, Western culture has to
Yeah.
list and
Yeah.
greatest, largest, best, not best.
Right.
Separate.
Right.
But,
And of course, this is where it came from. Of course, Nigeria, this is where it came from. Of course, when you speak of Oshun, you have to speak of Oshogbo. Of course. But still, I still also have to speak of the Cumberland. I still also have to speak of the Chattahoochee River in Atlanta. This is how we did it over here.
Why you do it?
Okay, well, we have come up to our 2:30 mark. Beloved family. And we will, now is it, y'all don't let me get my weekends mixed up. So I think that this weekend we will still meet. Yes. Am I right? Yes, the 15th we will still meet, but of course the 22nd, we won't be here because I will be in Maryland for the Witchcraft Convention, okay? So this coming weekend on the 15th we'll meet, the 22nd we won't, and the 29th, let's that be tentative, that is the literal day after my birthday. So we'll say that one is tentative for now, and I will let you guys know on the group meet, okay? But definitely we'll meet this coming weekend on the 15th, okay? All right. For everybody remotely, this is the book 16 Calories I was talking about. If you want to get it, this is what it looks like on the front. The front is actually red with a little basket with 16 calories in it. That's the picture that's on the front. It's William Bascom, Bascom. All right. Peace, love, light, ecstasy, abundance, and bliss, immeasurable darkness to everyone within the sound of my voice that's wishing the same for me and mine. And as always, the lessons of life to those who are wishing us otherwise. Peace, y'all.